In the Season 4 awards, the Publicists Guild did themselves up proud with their second annual awards dinner at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Now, outside, it was a rainy, rainy day. But inside the Crystal Room of the Beverly Hills Hotel, all was good fellowship for the annual awards luncheon of the Publicists Guild. And what a turnout of celebrities they had. Hedda Hopper, Joe Levine, George Sidney, George Stevens Sr. and Jr., and George Chandler, shown in the background, who was president of the Screen Actors Guild. For Hedda and Levine, the conversation was priceless. Despite some of her candid criticism of his productions, Joe professed his love for her, saying that she didn't love him. Hedda replied it wasn't anything personal. She just didn't like his dirty pictures. This is what she said in her column the next day. Well, the conversation was pretty pungent, but obviously there were no hard feelings. Levine later will receive a special award for his continuing emphasis on showmanship. George Stevens Jr. was the featured speaker of the day, and the special guest of the Publicists was Judy Crist of the New York Herald Tribune. We'll tell you more about that later. Here's one of the two special presenters, Frank Sinatra, and he was in really rare form. He looked good, obviously felt good. We caught him talking about movies.
Tell us a little bit about the producing end of it that I know you're involved in.
In the, you mean in pictures?
Yes, with the executive end, that's what I had in mind.
Oh,
how do you feel being an executive?
I feel pretty casual about it.
You look casual enough.
I think I've been preparing for it, I must say, even without realizing, for some time now. And then after I moved over to Warner Brothers, I began to really pick up a lot of knowledge through Mr. Warner and all of the people over there. It's an interesting side of it. It's all brand new to me, but I like it. I really do.
Do you feel more gratification from this than the acting?
I don't know, but I know that I'm beginning to realize now that being on this side of the desk, so to speak, now I know what it's like when I went in and complained to producers about what a couple of beefs I had about a script, because now I'm on the other side of it, and it's interesting to see what I might have been saying through the years that other actors are now saying to me.
What have you found to be the major problem so far, or the most, maybe perhaps the most surprising things that you've come across on this end of the table?
Well, I think the most surprising element I found is the fact that we'll sit down and arrive at a point where the script is ready to be shot, and then we decide to cast it. And that's surprising, because you go for the people that you figure it's pretty simple to get, and nobody's available. That's the big surprise, I think. The biggest one I found yet. And also, I find that, not that I was ever so involved in it before, but the scale of expenditures is tremendously high, as against, I suppose, 15 or 20 years ago. As I said, I've never been aware of it before, but I've quickly become aware of it. And inflation through the years has made it very costly to make a movie. However, if it's made well, I think you've got a chance to get your money back with a proper campaign and the proper advertising through the newspapers and television and radio. But that is another factor that astounded me when I got into the figures.
Do you plan to do any work on camera as well as, doubling up, perhaps having an own production and being on camera?
Well, yes. As a matter of fact, I've been doing that, John. I not only have been producing and performing, but recently I did a small acting job in a picture called None But the Brave that I directed. And I find that that's a marvelous job. It's an all gratifying kind of a job. You really are in complete charge of all of the parts of the people are playing, and it's a great challenge to keep everybody alive on the screen and learn how to put this whole thing together. And I'd like to do more of that.
Thank you very much, Frank.
Frank Sinatra, who was one of the special presenters. Now the other special presenter, Joan Crawford, shown here with Joe Levine and George Chandler. How's that for having special presenters, Joan Crawford and Frank Sinatra? Yes, the publicity people certainly scored well for their big affair, and this is just the second time they've done it. Now, this was all before the luncheon began. It's not the Crystal Room. It's just a small side room where the press and photographers get a chance to talk with the guests before they go out front, as we talk to Miss Crawford.
Joan, I understand you just came back from Palm Springs. You look very healthy.
Thank you.
And why are you in
You know
town?
that old joke? Every actor who has a tan, they say, oh, I see you haven't been working lately. No job.
Oh, that brings up a question I wanted to ask you. You know, they do this every year at the Academy Awards. I've heard the questions always say, are they just as glamorous as they were last year? What do you feel about the Academy Awards? Do you think it is really Hollywood's big night?
I think it's the biggest night we have. It's part of our family. It's part of our group. It's part of the thing we should go to. I had a discussion the other day with somebody who said, oh, golly, I just don't want to go to the Academy Awards. It's too much of a deal to get dressed in the traffic and the party afterwards. By golly, they owe it to their industry to get out and be dressed and be as glamorous and do everything they can to be a giver that night.
That speaks well, because I have often wondered that myself. There are a few, not too many, but there are some that do not go to the Academy Awards. Now, what about yourself? They're making so many interviews with you as the businesswoman, the tycoon, the giant. How does this sit with you?
I'm not the giant or the tycoon. I'm merely a member of the board of the directors of Pepsi-Cola. Can I mention it?
Oh, you certainly can. I must say, if I was going to be with any corporation, what a chairman of the board you make.
It's very interesting and a great deal of fun. As a matter of fact, working in pictures has taught me so much about other industries, and it was so easy for me to learn. Not that I've learned everything I have to learn. I have much more to learn. But to be able to market, instead of selling Joan Crawford, to market a soft drink, all of my training in pictures stood me in very good stead, believe me.
What do you call home now?
New York.
And how much time do you spend in New York or in Hollywood or around the country?
Well, I only come here when I have a job to do, either television or presentations or a film. I'm usually traveling all over the world for Pepsi. I've been as far as Leopoldville in Africa and Beirut. And
Do you miss California?
no, I love it when I'm here to work, but it's very depressing to come out and not have a job, because everyone has so much activity. You say, where am I? Well, you know, I got lost. And you want to get back into another activity, and I'm so grateful for the other activity.
Do you have much time to relax? You, like at Palm Springs, do you play tennis? Do you play golf?
No, I don't have time for that. I had 2 weeks for the first time in 2 years. I just came back from Palm Springs.
This is sort of a silly question, but I know many people want to know, do you like to play cards?
I love gin rummy. Are you good?
Not good, but I like to play.
Do you know Russian Bank?
No.
Do you know backgammon?
Yes, I've heard of that.
Do you know AC-Doocy backgammon?
Yes.
Oh, that's an old Navy game. I had a night watchman who taught me that.
You sound like a shark, Joan. I don't know if I'd want to play.
I'm only 36,000 points ahead of one of our vice presidents in gin.
Business must be good.
We never play for money.
You play for bottle tops.
They're called caps, crowns.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Crowns. The first mistake I ever made when I was married is I said, oh, look at that beautiful cap. My husband said, crown, dear, crown. So I learned.
Thank you very much, Joan.
Thank you so much.
Nice talking with you.
Bye now.
She's quite a woman, Joan Crawford. Now at the head table, things about ready to get underway. That's Chuck Moses, the president of the Guild, and one of the favorites of our Hollywood cameras with her writer husband, Elkie Summer, and Mr. Joe Hyams. She's Mrs. Joe Hyams. As we said, George Stevens Jr. was the featured speaker of the day, and he gave some extremely interesting examples of how motion pictures and its stars are adding so much in the work of the United States' information agency. This is Gia Galan, the exciting new Israeli actress. Now for the awards, Max Burkett on the right is presenting Nat James, a veteran publicist, who was named the winner of the first Les Mason Award for the Guild member who has best projected the image of the publicist. Nat, a graduate of Northwestern University, came to California in the 30s, joined RKO way back in 1938. And Les Mason was much respected early president of the Guild who was so active in its vital formative days. Next, Joan Crawford came center stage to present Joe Levine with his special award, and we'll read it to you, for his continuous efforts to focus the attention of trade and public alike on the importance of showmanship in the merchandising of entertainment in all media, end quote. For Levine, in accepting the award, it was a pretty good week for him. 3 days later, he won an Oscar for his production Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. Now, coming up next, the appearance of Frank Sinatra to make another award presentation. I don't know who wrote Frank's material on this day, but I understand it was his own. Rarely have I heard anyone in a speaker's position such as he was on that day in rarer form. He was tremendous. In talking about the man, this is the man, Jim Bacon, he was going to make an award to, he said, "This is a man who came from very humble surroundings in the slums of Philadelphia." I think it was Philadelphia. "And though he's come a long way, he's never forgotten his wife or his family. He goes back and visits them once a year." But Jim Bacon, Associated Press correspondent, the winner, had some jibes of his own. He's one of the best men in the business and one of the best liked.
This video is brought to you by The Concluding Chapter of Crawford, a comprehensive research guide to Joan Crawford. www.theconcludingchapterofcrawford.com. Join us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.